Yeah, I'm not reading any of that. Look, let's all just be honest with ourselves for a second. No one reads these things. Well, I guess that isn't entirely true, but I know that I'm not the only one who collects these papers and then gets rid of the notifications without actually reading them. In almost every game available today, there are different ways that developers are able to build the world that the game takes place in. Cutscenes are one of the most popular methods, but there's also songs that relate to the characters, audio logs, paintings.
Will the circle be unbroken by and by and by?
And then there's text. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually enjoy reading.
What? Oh my gosh, Jerry likes reading? For fun?
I know! I even got my bachelor's degree in English education, where I had to read different kinds of books. But as soon as it comes to reading in a video game, my mind pretty much just ignores it and moves on to see more about what the game's about. The best example I can think of is within The Last of Us Part 2. Mainly focusing on how Ellie is able to be on her own, she travels around the world that has been overrun with infected, essentially zombies. To find out more about her own thoughts and views, the game developers did a great move by providing Ellie a journal. With information and personal notes from Ellie, they allow the player to better understand how Ellie is feeling and how the player should also be feeling. I didn't read any of them. Look, it's not that I don't care for it. If anything, I love the story of The Last of Us. When the journal was introduced, I thought it was a great idea. Being able to learn about the world the characters are living in, while also making it more personal, seemed like a fresh idea. But after a while of getting the same notification, I just started to ignore them. In some cases, it did feel important to pause and look over the journal notes, but for the most part, I didn't bother with them. Mainly because I was too busy running from things that could kill me.
Dear Diary, today I was killed by an infected.
Now, I talked with some of my friends who also played the game, and when I told them that I didn't read the journal entries, I'm trying to think of the right word here, encouraged me to do so. And I get it. They wanted me to better understand how Ellie was feeling. After reading the journal entries, it was much more clear about what Ellie was thinking during this journey. From the random scratches to the drawings to just one lonely page, Ellie's character was improved from my understanding of her. But on the other hand, it didn't change my view of the game. Ellie was still the same Ellie that I knew before reading the journal entries.
Right.
I'm trying to learn how to whistle.
You don't know how to whistle.
Well, does it sound like I know how to whistle?
Now, I'm not saying that optional text should never be in a game. Instead, I think it's important for developers to determine when, where, and how often these text logs are used. When it comes to games like The Last of Us, the text was used similar to a reward for players who want to look deeper into the game's world. While there is no big reward for getting all of them, such as a new weapon or outfit like some games do, it does allow the player to feel rewarded for understanding the story. Some games, such as Firewatch, use smaller notes in order to build on the characters. What's great about these notes are that, for the most part, they're short, cut to the chase, and provide a story in pieces for the player to decide if they want to learn more about or not. These notes build on a world that is already shrouded in mystery and allow us to see how the characters see the world. Firewatch does optional text in a way I think many other games should try and follow. I never felt slowed down because I was reading them. Now, one way that video game developers have been trying to still build a story without it being through optional reading has been for these texts to be in the form of an audio or video log. The Mass Effect series used audio logs as a method to learn about the characters while also keeping it short enough that they didn't overpower anything. What's great too is that the rewarding feeling is still there for those who deeply care about the story as a whole. On the other hand, a big pet peeve that I have when it comes to optional text or audio being used in a story is when it's forced. Transference is a horror escape room game that, if you play through it normally, It makes absolutely no sense. How do I know this? Because that's how I originally played it. You enter a simulation where you walk around an apartment and try to piece together the story of a broken family. This was my first horror game that I ever beat, and I was just left underwhelmed. The story didn't make sense, random things seemed to happen for no reason, and some moments just didn't make sense whatsoever. For instance, to escape the kitchen, you have to switch between realities and match the radio frequencies. How is this happening? Near the end, you walk down the stairs to find a kid hooked up to a machine. Why? I don't know. Can't even tell you the name of the kid. Who are you? Why are you here? Nothing makes sense in this game. Until you listen to the video and audio logs. Yeah, there are small collectibles around the area that help you better understand what is actually happening. From the names of the characters, to what these weird crystals are, to what's in the freezer. These logs are essentially the baseline for the story. That's not how you do this! The reason that optional text, video, audio logs, whatever, the reason they work in games is because they're optional. They build on the world's story without having it being forced. I still understand how Ellie felt in The Last of Us without reading her journal. I still knew how many of the characters felt in Mass Effect without listening to the audio logs. What is happening in this game? Who are you? So what, should these optional logs just be taken out of games? Well, no. There's other people out there who really enjoy reading through these texts for hours at a time to figure out the story. Many of the texts that I've read in different games are really enjoyable. They each have their own voice to them and fit in their world. However, I just know that these optional texts and logs, they're just not for me. If you enjoy reading everything a game has to offer, that's great. Keep exploring the world that you want to enjoy. As for me, I think I'll just watch a summary of it all on YouTube or Game Theory.